The Nightbeat starts right now.
It started as a matter over mass at a bus stop. It ended in a shooting. New developments in yesterday's shooting. Police saying this man, Jason Jackson, was waiting at a bus stop when he was told he could not board a Via bus yesterday morning on East South Cross near Pecan Grove Boulevard.
Officers say passengers grew upset and someone who was getting off that bus got into an argument with Jackson, knocking Jackson to the ground. Police say Jackson then shot the man and waited for help to arrive. The man was taken to the hospital. Jackson is now charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
New on the Nightbeat, police say he's tied to 2 cases of aggravated sexual assault of a child. But officers in Universal City believe there could be other potential victims.
20-year-old Matthew Hill is in custody tonight. The night team's Patty Santos is tracking his case.
Matthew Hill turned himself over to police this afternoon. Detectives say the allegations came to light when the victims had the courage to come forward.
Our concern at this point, he is in a leadership position in a store, grocery store, and he has access to other younger individuals. So we'd like, if anything comes up, we just want to know if there are other victims out there.
20-year-old Hill is facing 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child. According to the arrest affidavit, the victims were known to him. In the affidavit, the victims say Hill abused them for a period of about 3 years when Hill was a minor. Police say at first Hill denied the allegations but recently admitted to them in detail. Police hope other victims of sexual assault come forward.
Our goal at the end of the day is to make sure that everybody who could have possibly been affected by this has a voice and realizes that the door is available and we're here ready for you to let us know what occurred. If you have information that could help Universal City Police, you are urged to call 210-658-5353, extension 758. Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News. Steve, easy.
Thank you, Patty. An East Side family is starting from scratch after a kitchen fire destroyed almost everything they owned. An elderly man had to be pulled from the burning home. That fire happened around 10 o'clock this morning. The night team's Japhanie Gray spoke with the homeowner, whose biggest prayer is that her loved one stays safe.
Black smoke everywhere. Flames in the kitchen.
61-year-old Lydia Watson is describing the inferno she walked into when she got home this morning. The smoke alarms blaring as she entered her East Side home on Lakefront, where San Antonio fire officials say someone left something cooking on the stove.
I ran in there to get my brother-in-law, and when he got up and I had him by the elbow, he went back in, and after that I wasn't able to get him out.
Her brother-in-law, who was 86 and also deaf, was later found on the bedroom floor by San Antonio firefighters. They say they were able to locate him from the shiny belt buckle he was wearing. He was transported to the hospital.
Just to give you a perspective on how hot it got in here. Again, first responders said that the fire started in the kitchen, which is right here. But I'm going to walk across the room just so you can see how extreme the heat was. If you look behind me, that's a flat screen TV melted right off the wall.
Financially, really, we're hurting, you know, and we lost everything.
But even though their family lost everything, including one of their dogs, Watson says her biggest fear is losing her loved one. She says doctors put a tube down his throat and that he is now suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning.
I'm afraid he ain't gonna make it. I don't know. I tried to do everything I could.
The American Red Cross is helping the family with a 2-night stay at a hotel. Watson says after that, their future is unknown. But she had this request to the community.
To pray for my brother-in-law to be safe, come home soon, you know, and to make sure they double check everything before they leave.
Japhanie Gray, KSAT 12 News.
Money, a major concern amid this pandemic. Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolff says our county, along with the 10 other largest counties in Texas, are questioning the distribution of funds from the state when it comes to the CARES Act. In a letter to the governor, the judges say the 11 regions, including Bexar County, have a majority of all the COVID-19 cases in Texas. Judge Nelson Wolff says about $11.24 billion was allocated to the state. But when it comes to dividing the money up, Bexar County and 10 of the other counties say they only received 28.6% of that amount, despite having more than 68% of all COVID-19 cases in Texas. We reached out to the governor's office tonight to ask for a response to the letter or if they've even received it yet. We have not heard back yet. Let's take a look at the latest numbers tonight. We've broken them down in a pie chart for you with 1,976 total cases this evening. Of those cases, more than 1,000 have recovered. 58 people have now died. And there are more than 860 active cases, with 67 of those patients needing hospitalization. Tomorrow, Metro Health will have 2 new pop-up testing sites. And remember, you can get tested even if you are not showing any symptoms. The new locations are the Southside Lions Community Center and the Claude Black Community Center. The sites will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's free to get tested and no appointment is required.
Bexar County preparing for a runoff election in July and then the November elections, and they're also facing the battle over mail-in ballots. There have been lawsuits demanding the practice be expanded to more people during this pandemic. And while Texas allows mail-in ballots, there are strict conditions. You must be 65 or older, disabled, and be out of the county. Those in jail but otherwise eligible to vote can also request a mail-in ballot. It does not account for the unprecedented situation, though, that we currently find ourselves in. Tomorrow, the Bexar County Commissioners Court will begin discussing mail-in ballots and what legal options they have available as elections near. We'll keep you updated on that outcome.
COVID-19 is creating more challenges when it comes to helping provide foster care. The pandemic forced the state to pause many programs to keep kids and employees safe. An advocate who runs a local foster care campus tells the Night Team's Courtney Friedman they've had to get creative over the past few months.
For foster children, COVID-19 has done more than interrupt school and social time.
We saw a lot of our families and kids who had kids who could go to kinship, who could go to grandma or grandpa, but because of COVID and things not being safe, they couldn't get out there to do all of the walkthroughs and things that they needed to do. And so things kind of slowed down to a halt with that.
Sandra Jason runs True Light 127 Ministries, which certifies and provides support for foster parents. She also operates the True Light Youth Village, a foster care campus housing up to 20 children, newborns up to 17 years old. With CPS home visits on pause, the village has been completely full, and Jason has had to get creative with school and activities.
We had a big cook-off, and we had the kids come up with their own recipes. They could look it up on the internet, and it had to be from scratch. So we called that home ec, math class because they had to do measurements, life skills because they had to make grocery lists.
As Texas moves to reopen, kids are able to move out of the village, but that doesn't mean the spots stay empty. Jason says the number of child abuse calls dropped during the quarantine, a concerning trend she's glad is beginning to reverse.
We are starting to see an uptake in the calls for us to be ready to take these kids in. And it's kind of scary how long they've been in isolation in the situations they're in. But it's time now for foster families to be ready to say yes, because last night alone, we had 8 calls.
She hopes families will begin the fostering application and training process so they're ready to jump in when help is needed. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
If you want to learn more about fostering, we have the link on our website, KSAT.com. If you want to help support True Light 127 Ministries, they are taking monetary donations as well as gift cards to clothing stores. However, they are not taking clothing donations as of right now. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the cases of COVID-19 in our surrounding counties tonight. Not much has changed since yesterday. Hays County increased its number of cases to 217. Guadalupe County has 101 cases. Comal County is reporting 68. And Medina County sits at 47 cases tonight. You can also track COVID-19 cases by county on our website, KSAT.com.
You know, there's a good chance you may have heard them before you saw them. The Air Force Thunderbirds flying over Military City, USA today. 6 pilots just feet from each other as they flew in a delta formation over San Antonio. The flight path full of twists and turns starting over Helotes, parts of San Antonio and Floresville. Sky 12 bringing you video as the Thunderbirds sped over the city's downtown area. They're doing about 450 miles an hour. The show was delayed, but it did not stop people from taking some time to step out and look at the sky. Some even climbing onto cars to get a better look, and others climbing on their parents' shoulders.
Yeah, loud and fast.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was
surprised at the number of people that had the same idea that this was a good place to watch, and that shows the support of the community.
Today's flight was meant to help bring the country together in solidarity during this pandemic. It was also done to recognize those on the front lines. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the different perspective as some of the video captured from viewers on the ground, and they sent in their own video. Can't wait to see that video.
And this just in tonight, the South San Antonio ISD Board of Trustees naming their lone finalists for superintendent. They have named Dr. Mark Pugh as their finalist. He is currently the superintendent of schools for Beeville ISD. Dr. Pugh would replace current interim superintendent Dolores Sendejo, who has been at South San ISD since July 2019.
Isolated in a hospital and hoping for recovery, being separated from loved ones can be agonizing, especially for those families battling COVID-19. One local family sharing their story with us tonight.
And the judge says the attorney general picked a fight when it comes to the local COVID-19 response. So what's the mayor's next move? Will he make a change? It's coming up in our coronavirus Q&A.
And while many have lost their jobs, we're going to check in with the local staffing agency trying to get people back into the workforce.
Unemployment continues to be a problem, but staffing agencies and resume writers continue to move forward in their mission to help people find new jobs. Tiffany Huertas gives us a look at how these businesses are adjusting and what jobs are in high demand.
What we were pretty much staffing was clerical, but now it's kind of shifted more to your medical operations.
The vice president of Reliable Staffing, located in San Antonio, says during the pandemic, they have been finding San Antonians jobs in New York.
We've been pretty much just staffing out RNs, LVNs, and also the respiratory therapist out there.
Amy Aguayo says while they lost contracts because of COVID-19, they also gained new business.
We actually gained a lot more work through this pandemic because of the need for the medical staff.
Aguayo says besides medical jobs, sanitation, warehouse, and food production jobs are in high demand. Reliable Staffing has been operating during the pandemic. Recruiters have been working from home, but the agency is not seeing the same amount of applicants.
We've also noticed a lot of people are not looking for work right now with the unemployment being so high.
Aguayo says in her database, there are currently 100 open positions in San Antonio. The director of River City Group, a local business that offers resume writing services, says last month they saw a spike in new clients, but it slowed down.
People are somewhat scared, for viable health reasons, and also that the economy is in a nosedive right now.
Mark Spurlock says last year they wrote about 200 resumes. While this year they are not sure if they will exceed that number, Spurlock says people should always be ready with a resume. Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
It was a sight to see and hear in San Antonio. Earlier, we showed you video from Sky 12 tonight. A look from a different perspective. This shot taken from the roof of our KSAT studios downtown. Many had their phones out while keeping an eye on the sky. I've got to tell you, our photojournalists were all over the city catching the different sights and sounds today.
And meantime, take a look at the scene that KSAT viewer Eric Vasquez captured. He was right under the flight path there. The 6 pilots making their way overhead as streams of smoke followed behind.
And take a look at this video captured at Oak Hills Park. You can clearly see the Delta Formation here against the blue sky. The viewers who sent in these videos weren't the only ones out today. Many looked at a map of the flight path to try and pick the perfect spot to watch.
For San Antonio, this is great. Yeah, there's so much respect for military and good things.
And it's a thank you for all the first responders and the medical teams.
We are not done with our Thunderbirds coverage either. We've got more coming up. We're going to be hearing from some of those healthcare workers a little later in this newscast. Meanwhile, right now on KSAT.com, you can check out a story that takes a look back at how our very own Leslie Mouton and Mark Austin flew with the Thunderbirds years ago. Leslie took her flight in 1989, while Austin took his flight a couple of years after arriving at KSAT. We've got all the pictures and details on our website, KSAT.com. KSAT.com.
Hope everybody had a chance to just step outside for a moment and just capture that special scene and take it in. I know it's a moment I'm always going to remember.
Yeah, and even if you didn't, we've got it for you.
We've got it for you. Yeah. Yes, we have you covered.
And I like this. Look at the hotel down there. Be safe.
Love it.
Still lit up.
Meantime, it's very nice outside right now, Adam. 78 degrees.
Yeah, it is. And, I like what I'm seeing in terms of rain chances coming down the pike here. Not necessarily tonight or into tomorrow, but late Friday and particularly into Saturday. We're still liking what we see. Now, a lot can change between now and then, but at least there's very good hope for this next system that should be a little more robust and could give us some good drought-denting rainfall. Actually, outside right now, we have some areas of rain, mainly far west of San Antonio. Well, really only far west of San Antonio, but even across the border, a very lit up storm. Eagle Pass, you can probably see the lightning in those thunderheads. That's not headed your way. That's paralleling the Rio Grande. You head into Valverde County, and that's where we actually have a severe thunderstorm that's currently pushing eastward at 25 miles per hour. So here's a severe thunderstorm warning, maybe an isolated gust of 60 miles per hour associated with this, and potentially even some large hail. Right now, the hail core is not looking all that defined and all that impressive, but just passing through Juneau, a little bit of hail there, probably about a ½ inch in diameter. But this storm does have the history and the potential to give you about 1 inch diameter hail. So that's a severe thunderstorm moving eastward. All indications are that this is going to dissipate as it heads into the hill country and into Edwards County. But there is that off chance that it could remain strong, and we'll keep an eye on it. And I do think there could be a few leftover showers in the hill country from that, and maybe even just clipping San Antonio later on tonight. But that would just be light leftover shower activity. The radar was lit up in West Texas today, and even across the border in Mexico, you saw those storms. We had quite a bit of activity, still do. Between Lubbock and Dallas right now, basically closing in on Wichita Falls, more activity to the north. But I want to really fast forward here in time to when our chances look a lot better for what could be some real drought-denting rainfall if all goes as planned. What we're anticipating here is a little upper-level ripple to develop over Arizona on Thursday evening. That'll track eastward and amplify a bit, gain some strength, get a little more oomph with it, and that should give us some good lift. It's going to tap into some deep moisture, and that could then lead to some areas of heavy rainfall. We're talking late Friday on into Saturday. Now, somewhere across Texas with this, somebody's going to get some hefty rainfall accumulations. The big question is exactly where. It could be us. It may be just out of our area. But the way it looks right now is that we've got pretty good odds as it stands. It's just with these cutoff upper level lows, keep in mind this hasn't even formed yet. They're finicky and they're tricky, and they like to give you some twists and turns. So a lot can change between now and then, but the potential is definitely there with odds favoring good rainfall. I mean, we could see a handful of inches of rain, if you will. We could see 3 to 4 inches in some parts of South Texas. That would be through the weekend. Today, we topped out at 92 after morning low of 66. The record high, 98, so we were just a handful of degrees shy of that. 78 degrees the current rating. Low clouds in place. Southeasterly breeze at 20. It's a little gusty out there. We're in the 70s to right near 80 degrees. Still some low 80s southwest of town. And tomorrow morning, we'll wake up to ratings right around 70. Just an off chance of a shower or two in the morning with the low clouds again. Afternoon sun, low 90s. Rogue afternoon storm can't be ruled out. But those better chances late Friday on into Saturday. And temperatures cooling off a bit as well. Low to mid 80s for the upcoming weekend.
It'll be nice. Thanks so much, Adam.
All right, there was a ranking of the top players in NBA history. I think the Iceman was a little low.
I do too, but Tim Duncan beat out a couple of guys you may not have thought he might have beat out as far as national media is concerned. When we come back here, the top 74, Tim Duncan is in the top 10. Who else made the list that wore silver and black? A very big list, in fact. And also we come back, Patty Mills' big reveal tonight about the money he raised on Mother's Day to help combat domestic violence coming up.
San Antonio, massive shout out to you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for showing your support in the Give Mama Coffee campaign. Your appearance and your support and your care for our community, our city, was unbelievable. Thank you very much. Go San Antonio, go.
Awesome. Spurs star Patty Mills with the final results of his Mother's Day campaign to help local businesses and at the same time raise money and awareness to prevent domestic violence in big board sports. But first, the NBA is studying a plan to return to play over the next 2 to 4 weeks to see if continuing the 2019-2020 season will get a green light by following the conference call with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver last night. Team owners and executives are more optimistic now about a return to play. That is according to ESPN, that says one of the biggest points made by Silver during the virtual meeting was one positive coronavirus test would not shut down the league again. You may remember Silver suspended play on March the 11th when Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus before the Jazz are set to play the Thunder in Oklahoma City. Since that time, more NBA players tested positive, including his teammate Donovan Mitchell and even sideline Kevin Durant. That will be one of the points that the NBA, the Players Association, and medical experts will have to come to terms over the next couple of weeks, is how many positive tests are too much. The other decision is how many teams will be involved in the restart. Will include regular season or just playoffs or in a play-in tournament to decide the 16 postseason teams of what the commissioner is now calling a campus environment in Las Vegas or Orlando. Former Spurs star and now assistant coach Tim Duncan has been ranked number 8 in the top 74 greatest players in NBA history to celebrate the 74th anniversary of the league. The rankings compiled by experts solicited by ESPN had the big fundamental and Hall of Famer Tim Duncan ahead of both Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and trailing behind others such as Larry Bird, Will Chamberlain, and Magic Johnson, to name a few. Duncan led the Spurs to 5 NBA championships in his 19 seasons with the Spurs, all under head coach Greg Popovich, and along the way was named the NBA MVP 2 times, the NBA Finals MVP 3 times, and a 15-time NBA All-Star, 1-time NBA All-Star MVP and NBA Rookie of the Year in 1998 before his number 21 was retired to the rafters of the AT&T Center in 2016. Here's a look at the top 10 list. At number 1, Michael Jordan. LeBron James behind him at number 2. Number 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 4, Bill Russell. Number 5, Magic Johnson. In the second half of the top 10, there's Will Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan at number 8, followed by Kobe and Shaq. There were other Spurs included in the 74 greatest players in NBA history. 2-time NBA champion on the court. The Admiral David Robinson checks in at number 24. The NBA's most valuable player in 1995. The 1992 NBA Defensive Player of the Year. 10-time NBA All-Star, NBA scoring champ in 1994. Rookie of the Year in 1990. His number 50 retired in 2007. And one of only 4 players in NBA history to record a quadruple-double before he was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. Also on that list is the Iceman, George Gervin, at number 47. The 4-time NBA scoring champion helped bring the Spurs into the NBA in 1976. His number 44 also retired by the Silver and Black and is also a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. At number 56 is 4-time NBA champion Manu Ginobili. He's the only Spur to ever win the 6th Man of the Year award in 2008. Also has his number 20 retired by the Spurs after retiring from the NBA in 2018, winning an Olympic gold medal for Argentina in 2004. And the last of the big 3, Tony Parker, checks in at number 70, also leading the Spurs to 4 NBA titles with the NBA Finals MVP in 2007 and a 6-time NBA All-Star in 17 seasons with the Silver and Black, with his number 9 raised for the rafters of the AT&T Center just this past November. So here's some other of the NBA's greatest in 74 years. Moses Malone, who played for the Spurs for 1 season. Kawhi Leonard, of course. Dominique Wilkins in 1996-97 for 1 year. Elsewhere, it included Tracy McGrady, 1 year in 2013. Dennis Rodman from 95 to 98. Pau Gasol from 2016 to 19. And Artis Gilmore wraps it up at number 74 as a Spur from 1982 to 1987. Patty Mills with a big reveal on how much money he raised to help prevent domestic violence. Next. The governor of Arizona has just announced that pro sports, including the NBA, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, and the NFL, can resume without fans starting this Saturday. Governor Doug Ducey saying on social media the COVID-19 pandemic is trending in the right direction. The door is now open for professional sports to return to that state. Spurs guard Patty Mills declaring the Give Mama Coffee campaign a huge success over Mother's Day weekend. That's where Patty teamed with 8 local businesses to raise money and awareness to fight domestic violence in our community, and at the same time help those businesses to recover from the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's what Patty had to say today on social media.
Driving up and seeing how busy they were, honking the horn, pumping music, and just bringing those good vibes just heightened the fact of what we were all doing together.
And here's a big reveal delivered by Patty this afternoon. In just one day, his Mother's Day drive raised $103,965.76 for family violence prevention services in the battered women and children's shelter. Congratulations to all who participated and to Patty for his leadership. And what a job he has done during this pandemic.
Absolutely.
Look at that, and look how happy he is.
That's just an amazing leader, and think of what he did for Australia, but now what he's doing for San Antonio.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Guy who pays it forward.
He does.
Thank you, Greg. Up next, we're going to catch up with San Antonio's mayor. What is he saying about testing and accusations from the state attorney general regarding local COVID response? Coming up. Isolated in a hospital and hoping for recovery. Being separated from loved ones in a time of need can be agonizing, especially for those with families battling COVID-19.
The Night Team's Japhanie Gray spoke with a family who experienced that moment of uncertainty with their mother, who tested positive for the virus.
Only communicating through FaceTime, through texting, and not being able to see her, and then the procedures and what was going to happen got worse. Yeah, it must have been one of the worst weeks of my life.
Carlos Calderon is one of hundreds of people who have now experienced what it's like to have a loved one suffer from COVID-19 complications.
It's just like a roller coaster of emotions. Like, we didn't know what to feel and what to expect, and we had questions, but we just had to wait.
His mother, 58-year-old Michelle Rodriguez, tested positive for the virus early April. Calderon says the virus hit his mother so hard, doctors found that her heart had 90% blockage. That blockage resulted in a failed stent surgery and a quadruple bypass surgery.
Pacing throughout the home, looking at the clock, we didn't have an answer. We didn't know.
We as humans really want to feel in control and like we can do things to help those we love. And when we can't, we feel very out of control and helpless.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Lindsay Bira says being isolated from loved ones in times like this can be difficult.
There's sadness there. There can be anger. There's a lot of fear because of the things that can happen with COVID-19.
Calderon says the first time hearing his mother's voice after surgery was special.
Hearing the words, "Hey, mijo," most beautiful sound I've ever heard.
Rodriguez was released and is now recovering at home. Calderon has some advice for others going through the same journey.
The nurses and the doctors, trust what they're saying.
Dr. Bira says stay connected.
It's just about knowing that somebody's thinking about you and being able to communicate in real time.
God has all the answers, and you just got to trust that he knows what he's doing.
Japhanie Gray, KSAT 12 News.
It is all about information and fighting fear with facts. It's what we're attempting to do every weeknight during this pandemic around the same time. Tonight, we are joined by Mayor Ron Nirenberg. Mayor, thank you for joining us again here on a Wednesday. And you have expressed some concern about the fact that a lot of people aren't being tested. And that's really the first question we have tonight. Why do you think more people aren't being tested?
It's a head scratcher because we've been working on expanding testing for some time, and we've had plenty of capacity to test everyone who comes to seek one, and we just haven't seen that many people come and get tests. We've had roughly 1,600. I think we have over 2,000 tests available to us per day, and we haven't seen those numbers. There's a couple things going on to assess that, and the reasons why. One is that we are moving those testing facilities around the city, targeting areas where we know there's less healthcare access and where we've seen fewer people seek the test. We're also trying to get information out there. There's, some information and some concern from people that, might be painful to get the test. We're saying it's very simple. You're seen by someone who knows what they're doing, and they can make it very quick, and you can get your test results very quickly. The other thing is, correcting the information that's out there. The testing protocols have changed a number of times over the course of the pandemic from the CDC and at the local level. Currently, you don't need a doctor, you don't need an appointment, you don't need money, and you don't need symptoms to get a test. If you need to get a test, obviously we'd like for there to be a reason, like you've been exposed to someone who has it, or you do have symptoms. But if you want a test, you can get a test, and we have a number of different sites on the website. You can go and look where they're taking tests, sanantonio.gov/COVID-19.
Yeah, right now there are enough tests for everybody. It's just that there aren't as many people as anticipated getting tested.
That's right. And we want to get up to roughly 3,000 a day over the next few weeks.
Next question is there an effort being made to encourage more recovered patients to donate plasma?
There are, and our mental health team provides information. The providers provide information as well about plasma donation upon recovery. Obviously, not everyone wants to do that, but the people who show interest, they're followed up with. And, unfortunately, there hasn't been a large number of people who have donated plasma, but for those who have, they are saving lives. We've talked about a good friend, Paul Balzadua, whose story we shared quite a bit about his donation of plasma, provided for enough to, provide for the recoveries of 5 people. And so we encourage it. It's easy. It's something that can save many, many lives, and it's very effective. So if you have interest, if you've recovered from COVID-19, we want to put that information in your hands so you could potentially be a donor of plasma that could save many lives in our community.
Yeah, that's great what you just said. I want to make, because we've gotten that question before, how much can one recovered plasma donation, how many lives or how many patients could it possibly save? And you said 5, so that's...
The donation that Paul gave in his story and the picture that you saw, he was holding the plasma donation from one event, and it was enough for 5 patients.
Yeah, that's great. I know a lot has been made about masks and face coverings. Have you ever considered mandating gloves be worn?
We haven't, and obviously in certain situations gloves are warranted, but the most effective way of protecting yourself other than wearing a mask is to do what you should be doing anyways, which is washing your hands with soap and water. Gloves potentially could give you a false sense of security. If we get different guidance about gloves from the CDC, then we will offer that here at the local level. But right now, the mask prevents someone who has the droplets that could contain the virus from going to someone else, whether or not they are symptomatic or not. And we want to continue the very basic soap and water, washing of hands, 20 seconds, which is enough time to sing happy birthday twice.
Yeah. In the wake of AG Ken Paxton's letter yesterday, are you going to make any changes to the emergency ordinances that the city has set forward?
No. In fact, Andy Segovia, a brilliant attorney, our city attorney, was on the show, was on the briefing last night to explain how the deputy attorney general who wrote the letter to us clearly didn't have the facts about our orders, because everything that was in our orders addressed the issues in his letter. We wrote it purposefully inclusive of the governor's language to make sure it did not conflict. And so we're going to continue to go with that. Obviously, the attention is on masks. The governor was very clear. We do not have the authority to issue fines, and we haven't issued a fine. But it is important that people know that masks ought to be worn because it clearly prevents the spread of the disease, especially among those who are carrying it asymptomatically. It's guidance from the CDC, it's guidance from our local public health professionals, and it's even in the language that the governor orders himself. So clearly there's a disconnect between Ken Paxton's office and what the medical professionals unanimously have said about preventing the spread of this disease.
All right, I want to get to some more viewer questions now. Somebody wants to know, can they report someone to 311 for not social distancing?
Yeah, I mean, you can. Social distancing is not is part of the protocols that we should all be comfortable with and understand in order to prevent the spread of the disease. But there's only some particular circumstances within businesses that there are mandatory requirements. What they are in general, though, is that you need to be following these guidelines. Stay 6 feet away from people who do not reside in your household. Otherwise, if you're in a situation where you know you can't maintain that, wear a mask. It's pretty simple stuff. We're just trying to save lives, keep people healthy, and that will allow us to open up our economy and enjoy the things that we're used to doing.
All right, last question before I give you the floor here to talk about what you want to talk about. But how much money does San Antonio anticipate on spending on testing?
You know, our health transition team had some great recommendations that are now guiding the next actions through our Metro Health Department, as well as the City Council and the city organization in general. And our health plan calls for roughly $70 million, which are reimbursable from the federal government for standing up testing, tracing, and isolation protocols for our city. The first and most important thing that we can do to get our economy back on track is to make sure that we have the capacity to identify new infections of this virus when it's out in the community, to trace where they're coming from, and ultimately to locate and isolate them. We know that it is impossible for us to expect that there will be zero occurrences of this virus in our community. But what we can do is make sure that we can contain what's out there and identify what comes as quickly as possible so we can isolate it, and the rest of the community and the rest of, the rest of the life in the city can go on as we maintain our containment.
Right. All right. I want to give you the floor now. What do you want our viewers to know tonight?
You know, this community has saved, according to the health studies, roughly 8,000 lives, more than 8,000 lives in the last 6 weeks of observance of physical distancing guidelines, the stay-at-home orders, the prevention measures that we put in place that were guided by our health professionals. That's 8,000 people who may have been a family member, a loved one, a friend, a neighbor. That is being done. That has been done by our community because we have stood in solidarity with one another. It's not because there have been mandates. It's not because there have been the threat of fines. It is simply because we care for one another. This is a compassionate community. None of that changes as new orders come in, as there's potential mixed messages from the state and the federal government. We care about one another. This is a compassionate community, so let's continue to get the job done on behalf of one another to save one another's lives, and let's continue to build a city that we can be proud of and leave to our next generation, our children and our grandchildren.
What we're all doing is making a difference. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Steve. Have a great evening.
You too. We'll be right back. It was a big story in San Antonio today. 6 Thunderbird pilots from the United States Air Force flying through the Alamo City, saluting frontline workers during the coronavirus outbreak.
We had 10 photojournalists on the ground, and Sky 12 was in the air, ready to capture the moment as the elite fighter squad took to the skies. Here's a look.
It is a great tribute to have the Air Force Thunderbirds here.
To know the training that they do and the history behind them.
Awesome, it's amazing. Sends a chill up my spine.
Signifies that what we're doing is important work, and that people know that this is sacred work that we're doing, and that someone really cares about the people inside the walls who are taking care of these patients.
It was awe-inspiring, actually. It just fantastic to see the support.
Yeah!
That they're showing our community and really the whole nation as they go just really across the nation.
Cool. They're going about 80, 100 miles an hour, I don't know.
Just to see them flying like that, it just leaves you speechless.
Just to say thank you to all the heroes and the people that have been working in the hospitals and things like that.
It's nice to get out and do something out of the house. This is really going to bolster our spirits.
I think they're the best.
It never gets old seeing those birds fly.
No.
Nope. Never.
I could watch that video
I got
over and over and over.
Goosebumps just watching that video. That's just incredible. Meantime, live look outside with City Cam today. 78 degrees right now.
Yeah, that's where we're at. We'll probably drop another 7 or 8 degrees before the night comes to an end. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the aquifer and even our pollen count. First of all, the aquifer has responded to the recent rainfall. It's up nearly a foot. And last I checked, it's still rising a little bit. So that's good. And now we're at 661. We're above that critical 660. And if everything goes as advertised into the weekend, we could really see a boost to the aquifer. By the way, with the recent rainfall, mold, it's high at 3,200. All right, let's take a look at the radar screen. There's some activity in Val Verde County that's moving into Edwards County, and that's actually a severe thunderstorm. It's got some wind gusts potentially up to 60 miles per hour and maybe some hail up to 1 inch in diameter. That's the potential with that storm. You also see the activity west of Eagle Pass. That is a very lit up thunderstorm, but that is just basically moving parallel to the border and not crossing over. So we're looking at this activity here in Val Verde County, northeastern Val Verde County. Just move through the Juneau area. A lot of lightning with this. You can probably hear it from Rock Springs and even see it if you look outside. You'll see some of that lightning in the thunderheads there. This is pushing to the east at 25 miles per hour. So let's plot this out for you. If it stays on track at that exact speed, Rock Springs, let's get the latest here. You'd get the heavy rain. There we go. By about 12:13. I actually think a little bit earlier than that, but that's what the technology says. I would say earlier than 12:13 a.m. Anyway, looking at the hail within it, we're detecting some small hail, but not all that much, at least at the moment. We'll continue to monitor this. Luckily, it's moving into an atmosphere that's not really as favorable or conducive to sustaining that thunderstorm, but some leftover rain wouldn't be such a bad thing, would it? Right now, 70 in Ozona, 69 in Dryden. They've got that rain-cooled air. 77 now in San Antonio and Pleasanton. We'll wake up to temperatures right around 70. An isolated shower or two possible in the morning, and maybe a rogue pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon. But mostly tomorrow's just going to be a lot like today. Low clouds in the morning, afternoon sunshine, and a southeasterly breeze at 5 to 15. Friday, we do it all over again. Low clouds in the morning, afternoon sun. Then we increase the chances of evening thunderstorms, which could last through the night on into Saturday. And right now, the potential is there for some heavier rain and more widespread, more numerous showers and storms on Saturday. And if it goes as advertised by the computer guidance right now, we could see a pretty good drought denting rain situation on Saturday. But a lot can change between now and then, so we'll keep you updated and give you the very latest information in the newscasts ahead.
Thank you, Adam. Still ahead, documents from the CDC at the center of controversy amid the pandemic. The move from the White House and what Dr. Fauci is saying. Next. There is a continued push from the White House for communities to reopen, even as the death toll from COVID-19 in this country tops 84,000.
Tonight, we are hearing President Donald Trump's reaction to concerns raised by the nation's top infectious disease expert about the risks of reopening states too soon.
ABC's Marcia Gonzalez following the story and has the latest.
The number of new COVID-19 cases reportedly spiking in several parts of the U.S., including Tennessee, Iowa, and Kentucky, according to an internal government document, as stay-at-home orders are eased across much of the country. And now CDC documents that were supposed to provide guidance on ways communities and businesses can safely reopen are being held back by the White House, the decision facing criticism on Capitol Hill.
America needs and must have the candid guidance of our best scientists, unfiltered, unedited, uncensored by President Trump or his political minions.
The head of the CDC saying the guidance will be released soon, as President Trump says he disagrees with this warning from Dr. Anthony Fauci about states reopening without meeting federal guidelines.
There is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control.
Look, he wants to play all sides of the equation. I was surprised by his answer, actually, because, it's just, to me, it's not an acceptable answer. especially when it comes to schools. But I think you should absolutely open the schools. Our country's got to get back, and it's got to get back as soon as possible.
As schools across the country consider how to safely reopen, there are concerns about a growing number of reports of children affected by a rare illness called pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome, possibly linked to COVID-19. With 16 states reporting cases, the CDC now preparing a national alert for doctors to help them recognize the symptoms, as 14-year-old Leah's doctor did, possibly saving her life.
I'm very grateful because I could have been gone. I'm glad I got help right away.
Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Six Flags has not said when they will reopen, but they're telling us about some of their plans that are in place. The amusement park putting in a new guest reservation system. The process would allow parks to manage daily attendance levels and avoid overcrowding. We have the entire article on our website, KSAT.com. You can find it on our homepage.
All right, and we're looking ahead in time here as we get toward the end of Friday and into Saturday. We have what looks like a more promising system in terms of widespread rainfall, more numerous showers, and somewhere across Texas, some pretty potent heavy rainfall. I mean, we could be talking several inches of it in some spots, and that could even be South Texas. We'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Adam. GMSA at 4:30 in the morning.
Good night.